Hello, it's John, Vintage Fisherman. I got another first here. I mean, I've rebuilt a whole lot of Garcia, or Abu Garcia Ambassadeur 6500s, 6000s, 5000s, 5500s, 5501s, 6501s. I've done a little bit of everything when it comes to Ambassador. They are my favorite bait casting conventional reel. Yes, I love Penn, but I love Penn for the bigger stuff, not for the smaller stuff. Penn Penn had an opportunity. Penn had an opportunity to come after Garcia, and he just didn't follow up on it. Of course, they had the international, the smaller internationals, which were beautiful reels. But they also had the 920, 930, 940 series, which, in my opinion, was a direct threat to the Garcia Mitchell Ambassador line. And of course, when you got to the bigger sizes, you went from the 930, maybe it was 940, to the 960, 970, 960, 970, 980, and 990. Those were the bigger sizes. And they were magnetic control. And really, Penn absolutely had Ambassador beat on the bigger reels. You could cast those 970s, 980s. You cast those things a country mile. But when it comes to the smaller stuff for heavy medium to heavy freshwater and light to medium saltwater, I love the Ambassador series. So let's take this thing apart. This is my first six. I've got a lot of 6500s, 6501s. I've got 5500s, 5501s. I've got some 7000s. I don't have any 7001s. I just did a 7, which y'all probably see that, And that's a really cool reel. I really enjoyed that one. Beautiful reel too, by the way. And this one's going to go on the shelf right beside it. I don't think I'm going to modify either one of these reels. There's the handle. Don't lose that little E-clip. Don't be like me. I got about 20 of them over here in the tray. I buy them in bulk because I lose them all the time. This is a size reel here I would prefer to have in left hand, especially with the level line. I might throw metal with this at the coast, And so I prefer to, but here's the thing. I mean, if I'm casting with both hands, it doesn't matter whether I'm throwing left, with my left. I'm going to throw with my right anyway. It doesn't matter if I've got both hands on the rod. It just doesn't matter what I'm trying to say. I'm not articulating myself very well, but if it's a rod that has a handle long enough, you got to have both hands on. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm using a left or right hand reel. I prefer a right hand reel if I'm thumbing the line. The level lines are nice for me if I'm throwing with my right and cranking with my left, because I can't thumb line worth a crap with my damn right. I don't know what it is. I've tried it. I've got several Penn Senators. They're the left hand version. Yeah, I just suck at it. All right, there's your spool shaft, which is wanting to be stubborn. This is a ball bearing reel, unlike the and I probably will go ahead and upgrade the bushing on this side. But this looks to be a 1 ball, so it's basically a C. The 6 is basically a C for all intents and purposes. See if I can get that bushing out of there. Well, let's just take this side. I want to take the spool apart first. So over here on the spool, I'll use my screwdriver. it is. You got a retaining ring on the centrifugal weights. Yeah, get a hold of that thing, but keep your finger over it. Don't let it get away from you. There's a retaining ring. I try to keep all my parts together. Spool parts go here. Level line goes here. My drag stack goes through here. Covers and frame and stuff go over here. That kind of thing. There's your bearing. Nothing wrong with it. It's brand new. This reel hasn't been used. There is a shim that goes up in here underneath that bearing, between the bearing and the spool. Now over here on this side, it's a bushing, and we will change that out because I know I've got the right bearings in stock for that. So that's the whole spool assembly with the shaft. A little dirty, but nothing bad. We'll take this apart last. Let's do the palm side. 3 screws. The old thing we all of us tell everybody when we take these reels apart: match your screwdriver up to your screw slot. This has the bait clicker. It's got the newer style in it. I like the old. It's like the brass finger looking thing. Those things are freaking awesome. I don't know why Ambassador ever went away from that, because it's loud. Like on the beach with the waves crashing, I can hear that thing go ding. I'm like, yeah, ring that dinner bell. I can hear that now. But these things here, they're not very loud. I'm sure there's tricks. Somebody's got a trick up their sleeve to make them louder, but I haven't really played around with them much. And so when you take that apart, it comes apart. It's just the way it is. That's your bait clicker. Okay. Over here, I don't take this off. I'll leave it on there. You do have a retaining clip here. Once again, put your fingers over it so it doesn't go flying. Pull your level line cog off of there. Then you've got a little plastic cap and a shim pack. Keep those shims together. And that's the cover, okay? Then over here on your level line, you're going to take this retainer off. Slide it to where you can get the screwdriver to the pawl cap there. Unlike the Shimano's, there's no shim underneath there. Shimano likes to stick a shim in there so you can lose it. You have to buy another one. Okay. That's the frame. This says 89-C 8990. So this was made in, I guess, 89 in revision C maybe. Or maybe C stands for one bearing. It's a one bearing reel. There's all those parts. Now over here on the, Ambassador calls this a brake plate. So over here on the brake plate, we're going to take this spool tension knob off. Underneath that, there's a little plastic retainer that comes out. And then underneath that, you've got 1 or 2 shims. It's usually 2. This one has 1. And that's that. That's your spool tension knob. Okay. Here's another piece that can be upgraded to a bearing, and I have those bearings in stock, and I may do it. But that's just it's a spacer, bushing, plastic. There's a bearing go in there. The bearing's going to be thinner. The bearing's not going to take up as much thickness as that. So you have to put the bearing and some spacers. I order the spacers off of Amazon to match that up. And here we can take your cover screws off. This, for all intents and purposes, so far has been made just like a 6501, 6500. I don't see any difference in it. 5500, 5501. We'll see what it looks like underneath here. Different. It is different. Okay, so Let's take this apart step by step. This yoke is totally different. Much more simplified. There's one spring. I can't take the yoke off yet. Let's do this. You got a spacer or shim, concave, convex washer. Then you've got your drive gear with your drag pack. We'll go over that in a second. This is your cog with your anti-reverse dog. Okay, that comes off. This will clean up just the way it is. Over here, press plate. These can be a little stubborn. I do have upgrade drag for this. I may upgrade it. That's your outer drag is always the bigger washer, and the inner drag is your smaller washer. So remember that smaller washer. You can kind of look at the gear and tell, but the smaller washer goes against the bottom press plate. I call it a press plate, whether that's the right nomenclature, hell if I know. Then you got a shim on the bottom of the shaft, the handle shaft. That comes off. Okay. Now your yoke can come off. All right. And this I'll leave alone. I can clean that just like it is. I can lubricate it. So I'm not going to bother with that. You can take this gear out of this yoke, but I'm not going to. I'm going to clean it just like that. So that's the whole reel, folks. That's it. I'll clean it up and be back to you. They definitely changed things at, there at the late 90s about how they built these reels. If you look at a 70s through mid to late 80s reel, they're totally different. And there was some reels in it. I think I've got some 2000s that were different than these. Maybe somebody can put in the comments why they changed things, and maybe they just didn't like it and they went back. I don't know. This reel's been used. It's got the usual gunk. I call it pond scum all over the level line. That's what usually catches all the junk off of the water. It's just covered in it. That's going to clean up really beautiful. There's no major wear to the level line pawl. The anti-reverse looks good. The drag has not been smoked. Nice looking reel. It has a bigger handle on it. Did they come with this handle? It looks like a factory handle to me. Doesn't say Ambassador or Garcia or Abu or anything like that on anywhere, but it looks factory. Y'all tell me. Maybe that was an aftermarket Ambassador power handle that somebody put on this reel. Well, there it is. I'll clean it up and I'll be back. Well, hello, I'm back. I'm working on this Ambassadeur Six. Just finished the 7 the other day. I got these in. I bought them at auction, a pair. They kind of came as a pair. Not really planning on doing any major upgrades to it, but I'm going to eliminate the bushing with a bearing. This is a factory Abu Garcia Ambassador bearing. I had some extras. I'm not going with ABEX or ABEX 5s or ABEX 7s. These are probably 5s from the factory, if I had to guess. So we're going to go with those. I had them, I keep my spares here. I even keep the old bushings too. You never know. I did decide to upgrade to drag because I may very well fish with this reel. I think this is the right drag here. I got this from Dad's old tackle. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to compare it to those drag washers and see if it's the same. It says 88 through 89. That's about the time period of these reels. Well, We're on the struggle bus today. Goodness gracious, my fingers don't want to work. All right, there's that one. There's this one. So this one looking the same as that. Thickness is pretty close. I'm not going to measure them. I've had troubles with these in the past. They don't work out right. That's identical. So we're good there. So we're going to put this drag stack in here. Let's start out with a couple housekeeping items here. On the brake plates for these Ambassadors, I like to use Ballistol to lubricate the brake plate. The stuff does really well. It doesn't really ever dry, but it doesn't get runny either. It's a little runny right now because it's still drying. I just kind of rushed into this whole thing. I use that on the brake plate and I use it on the bait clicker. And that's it. Everything else gets sprayed down with WD-40. And then I use pin lube or cowls to build these reels. The WD-40 usually sits on them overnight. Because I'm in the middle of moving, I did not get around to clean everything up, spray it down the other day. So I'm working backwards a little bit here, but that's okay. Let's put the level line together. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Pretty basic. The end with the plastic bushing goes in first. Whether you're working on a left or right hand reel, and these are right hand. You gotta also make sure you get that wire up and that guide up there, and you slide that home. And then I recommend just a drop of Go Fast oil right there on that bushing. Okay. And then you can put the retainer on there. Okay. I'm going to give it just a little drop of good oil up there. And we'll drop in the line guide. Sometimes they won't seat. See how it's doing right there? You can put your finger on it. Still not wanting to seat for whatever reason. There it goes. And if you spin this while your finger's putting just light pressure on it, it will pop into place. I put just a dab of grease right there to protect those threads and start the cap. So when you take one apart, this is usually the last thing that comes off and the first thing goes back on. There's that. I'm going to wipe this frame just a little bit while I can get in there. It kind of got a little bit of a film to it besides the WD-40. I do use my reels in salt water, and so I do everything I can to keep them from getting corroded. I want them to last. Whether I'm not going to live forever, but I'll leave them for my kids or somebody. Somebody is going to get some nice reels someday. Let's put it that way. All right. That looks a lot better. So the level line's done. Always check it out. Doesn't hurt to give everything just a little dab of the good stuff. I do plan on casting this reel, and it's going to have to move pretty good. Okay. Next step is the bait clicker. Goes on like that. I've already lubricated with the ballistol. And then you put the two little plastic spacers on there, and then just a little bit of grease in those screw holes. Now, when you put this in here, all right, I got something to do first. Lots to do first. You got two shims that have to go on here in this cap. Doesn't hurt to put a little bit of grease in that cap so it'll stay in place. Once you get it in there and you put the level line cog on it, it won't go anywhere. Put that in there. A little bit of the Go Fast oil here and down in there. You put your cog on there. Smooth. Then you're going to put your E-clip on there. Be careful. They'll fly. I don't have my regular pliers out here. I don't know what the hell I did with them, but I'm using these little needle nose from Harbor Freight. So now when you put this in there, this little ramp right here and that little notch, that's what makes it go click. This is the disengaged. This is where you don't have a bait clicker. So you'll put this thing on there like this. And what I do is I pull it up, and then when I get it over the spring, I pull it back. And then it should, which it's not. I don't know why it's not. There it goes. Now it's locked into place. Now I'm going to put the screws in it and I'm going to test it. This is my first 6. I've never owned one. To me, it's just it's a 6,000. 6,000 C is what it looks like to me, because the C's had one bearing on the spool and did not have a bearing on the handle, and they did not have the instant anti-reverse bearing. So they remind me of a C, 6,000 C. I guess they were a budget reel of some sort. I don't know. Kind of looks like the Royal Express that Garcia made. It was a all black reel, basic reel. I love those things. I'll take them and modify them and really make some good casting reels out of them. So when you throw that thing up into bait clicker mode, it'll push that plunger down. Okay. Now I don't put any grease on my level line cog. Let's build this bad boy. So you had a shim that goes in there. You see that? Seat that in there good. Had a bearing. Okay. Got your centrifugal weight cage. And then there's a clip. The opening on the clip needs to be between the centrifugal weights. So you want solid wire holding where the weight cage is. So that's also your drive. Okay. Then you go drop a bearing in this side, and then the cog, the drive for the level line. So that's that. Clean it up a little bit. It's got a lot of oil on it. I normally let this stuff dry a little better. Now you're not going to put the shaft in it yet, not going to put the spool in it yet. We're done on this side of the reel. Let's build the brake plate. You see how this is drying, but that stuff is super slick. I'm going to clean off any oils that might be in here where the centrifugal weights hit the brake plate. Get that done. All right. This one, it will take a little bit of grease there and there on that ramp for the yoke. Okay. You can also go ahead and grease your pinion. It doesn't do any good to put too much on there. You're just going to just smush it all off. Okay. Put that on there. I'm not going to put the spring on it yet. I don't want to forget it. There's a shim. Goes on the handles post. And one of the problems I normally see with the Ambassadors is this post will get loose and people give up on them. I've got an arbor press here in the shop that I can repress those things and they're like new. And then they'll never come loose. I can put a couple of tons of pressure on them if I need to. Next up is the level line pawl, the anti-reverse pawl that goes on right here. That is your anti-reverse. This one doesn't have a bearing on the shaft, on the handle shaft, so we're going to give it a little extra help with the good stuff there. Now go on like that, okay? Your gear gets this washer, this drag washer in there. Boy, it fits nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cowls. I use cowls. Love this stuff. I dip it in there, get my fingers in it, and work it all the way around. I want it where when I take my finger off, I can see my thumbprint on it like that. I hear people say all the time, "Oh, Cal, it's grease. It's going to make you drag." No, just don't even go there with me. I already know. And we're going to put some. It makes your drag smoother, folks. It does not make you drag any less. You don't lose any drag power. You get a smoother drag. That jerkiness it drags get is what kills you. That's what breaks your line, breaks a fish off, and that's no fun. That's not what we're in this for. We're in to catch fish, not lose fish. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop this on there. Let it mesh with the pinion like that. Oops. Come on, John. All right. Meshed with the pinion. We'll go to the top side. It's going to get some cowls. I have had problems with these in the past where everything doesn't want to work right once you get together. These are a little bit different in thickness, and it can cause you some problems. We'll put that drag washer in. Then it gets this press plate. I call it a press plate. Then you get a concave washer. Then a flat washer. And then a spacer. Just like that. Okay. One spring right in the middle. That's where it was on this one. Couldn't tell you why. That's just where it was. It has a place for 2 more springs. This one only had 1. Just a hair bit of grease down in those threads. Sorry, covered my mouth. You might not be able to hear me. Just a little bit of grease in those threads. Before I put the cover on, I'm going to fix the spool tensioner. Takes the shim down inside of it. You put a drop of good oil in there. Won't hurt a thing. Thread that on. Maybe a little bit of grease too. Grease works as a pretty good sealant. So it doesn't hurt to have something on there to seal out any salt water intrusion. Okay. Now, and I missed something. Hold on. Hold your horses. I'm going to wait to put that on. I forgot the clip. Let's go ahead and put this together. My anti-reverse pawl popped out on me when I let it fall out there a second ago. There, now we're back in business here. Let's put that on. All right. Got to kind of hold it together because it's got that spring working against you. Got to make sure this handle's going through the slot made for it. Cover. Button, I mean, not handle. Tighten one screw down and you can kind of relax a little bit. Now, this shaft, I do give it just a little bit of oil. It had some wear to it, not a lot. Put it up in there. And then it gets this little clip. I've always put it down. Like that. Then your cap, spool tension knob can go on. Okay. Now that shaft stays with the cover. So now that fell out. That's okay. Get back in there. So when you I'll put the drag on. I'll fix that problem. Little grease. Drag. Star drag. This is a right hand reel, so it's standard thread. Wanting to mess with me a little bit there. There we go. That'll hold all those parts in there. Okay. Now, your spool, and what I will clean that brake just one more time, because I don't want any grease or oil on these centrifugal weights. You can go ahead and put this spool in there. What in the world is going on? Well, okay. All right. Pop that one out. There we go. A little tight. There. All right. Now, just push it all together. They only go one way. Turn your thumb screws in. Okay. We can put the handle together. You got the handle washer, which goes on like this. Well, there we go. A little bit of grease. This looks like a power handle somebody's put on this reel. Don't know. This doesn't look like the right handle for it. Y'all tell me. I'm not an expert. I know how to take them apart and put them back together, but I'm no expert on these reels. Now you can put the handle nut on it. The retainer, which you may have to, it's perfect. Line it up just right. Put that screw in there. So it's got upgraded drag, one bearing upgraded from a bushing. So that's always a good thing. Nothing wrong with bushings, I don't guess, but if you can put a bearing where a bushing goes, why not, right? Go ahead and treat yourself. The only time I can see where a bearing wouldn't be an upgrade is if the bearing was bad, right? All right. A little bit of Lucas oil into the handle here. Smooth. Let's seat those drags in. Oh, that's good. Nice drag to it. This reel would use 12, 15 pound line, so if there's ever a complaint I got about the Garcias, if you're using them in the surf, is the clicker is just too quiet. Especially this style clicker. If you got one that's got the brass tongue, and those are awesome. But I got a lot of spool side to side, so I need to adjust that out. Right there, that's pretty good. Okay, it's free spooling. I mean, let's face it, it's a 2-ball bearing reel. I mean, it's doing all it can do. I didn't super tune it. I just put it back together. So you could get a little more work done to it and make you even happier, but that's not a bad little reel. I'm real happy with the way it turned out. These Garcias, they're my favorite reels. The Ambassadors. I still got my blue C4 sitting here. I haven't got started. I'm waiting on parts for it. I'm upgrading. I am going to super tune this reel. So that's just on down the road, I guess. But I love the Garcia Cardinal Abu Garcia line. I mean, hey, who doesn't like an old Cardinal 6, right? That's my next reel. I'm gonna rebuild. Even the spin casters. Why not? He's a little rough, a little slow. We'll work on that soon. Anyway, this is John, Vintage Fisherman. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel. Come back and see a few more reels. Get another opportunity to go fishing. Talk to you later.